Now, talking about going international, being international, why don't we ourselves, in fact, go international to the lifeline of the show, which are the telephone callers? Good evening, Tafa from Ghana. You're most welcome to Straight Talk Africa.
Hello, Shaka. Good evening.
I am hugely terrific. How are you today?
I'm good, Shaka. I'm good. My greetings to your guests in the studio.
Thank you very much, but good is not good enough, man. You have to be hugely terrific.
Thank you very much, Shaka. I'm terrific too. Shaka, honestly speaking, I was disappointed with the attitude of the African leaders. The meeting just ended in Addis Ababa. I thought, my humble opinion, that it's just waste of resources. They just went there to just squander our small resources we have. Shaka, let me do this comparison. When you compare to when the Milosevic was killing Europeans, you quickly have a NATO organizing themselves when there to protect innocent civilians in European countries. But in Africa, you have a leader killing his people, but you have the African leaders, because some of them, the majority of them benefited from this shifting of political goalposts. So there's no way they will take action against the Burundian leader. So that is the problem we are facing, Shaka. You have a people who always want to shift the post to remain in power. How can you expect Museveni or Kagame or you name them to go and sit down and talk about what is happening in Burundi? Because they are also a beneficiary of that. And Shaka, one thing, I heard people talk about civil society group. Shaka, once you look at the civil society group in Africa, my countryman Akwete will agree with me. Majority of them have been compromised. Either they are in the pocket of government, or some of them, few of them also are following the opposition. So if they are also behaving this way, who do we have to talk on our behalf, Shaka? This is the problem we are facing in the country. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, Tafa. Well spoken. Let's go to the other side of the continent, that is Uganda in East Africa. Good evening, Samuel. You're most welcome to Straight Talk Africa.
Good evening, Ndugu Shaka. How are you?
I am hugely terrific, Ndugu Sam.
Let me move to Emira Woods. Madam Woods, if the African Union can act on Burundi, cannot act on Burundi as it did to Somalia, then how about the question from the diaspora who can say, wait a minute, you've done it in Somalia and have failed to move to Burundi. Should the United Nations Security Council be justified to pass a resolution to deploy peacekeeping forces to Burundi? Thank you, Madam Woods, and thank you, Shaka.
Thank you very much, Sam. It's all yours, Emira.
Well, thank you, Samuel, for that question. I think clearly, the African Union, it's being looked to act when it comes to Burundi. I think they cannot continue to pass this buck down the road. Now is the time to act. It is urgent. When we saw the lives being lost back in December, according to the human rights advocates, at least 80 in one weekend alone in December in Burundi, that the African Union must act. And I think it is incumbent on them to act. Whether it is Burundi or also Rwanda, you have now quite a few, DR Congo and Uganda, where this question of term limits is at the forefront. It is perhaps Burundi that has gone the furthest in terms of actually attacks on innocent civilians. But clearly, this is a critical issue for the continent at this time, and it is incumbent on the African Union to act. Whether or not the UN Security Council should take a role, I think we have to give the African Union the time and space to actually do its job. And if that is not done, then in the interest of protecting people, we can look to other international means. Clearly, human rights violations are an affront to human dignity across the planet, and the UN has also a role to play when the local bodies do not do their job. But I think we're still at a stage where we need to push, encourage, cajole, make sure that the African Union does its proper job in taking the leadership that's needed to defend the rights of the people of Burundi.
We should point out, by the way, to be fair to the government in Bujumbura, that under no circumstances has Burundi actually shifted the constitutional political goalpost. It has not, in fact, violated its constitution. It basically tweaked the constitution. What it probably violated was what is called the Arusha Peace Accords. Let's go to Tanzania. Good evening, Lenganas from Tanzania. You're most welcome to Straight Talk Africa.
Good evening, Shaka, and your colleagues.
I am hugely terrific, and they look like they're equally terrific here, too.
Yes, sir.
What is your question, sir?
Yes, Shaka, my comment is concerning the African Union.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I think the Union needs absolute reforms in the way of thinking and the policies that are guiding the Union, because now they are like emulating other continents, while the African continent has peculiar challenges that are facing it. And one of the challenges that I see coming up front is the problem of the leadership in Africa. The leaders in Africa have developed a semi-dictatorship kind of leadership, in which they use democratic means and democratic organs to manipulate the way they stay in power, but actually they are not democratic. They are absolute dictators, hiding behind democratic institutions and pretending that they are practicing, like in Zanzibar. You can see one person leading one country for more than 10 years and still wants to continue, while the people have expressed their opinion, but the government is willing to use the power, to use the police, to use other means to make sure that they sustain the same person for their own interest, the interest of few people, while the majority are suffering. So the continent is facing serious challenges, and these challenges are very much related to the leaders of Africa, and that's why they are coming up to blame the International Criminal Court that it is for Africa. It is not doing justice to Africans, but Africans themselves have peculiar challenges.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my brother. I think that your point is clearly well made. I didn't know many years ago, when I was in universities studying a bit of political science, my professors talking about the concept of presidential monarchs. I didn't know that, in fact, I would have the opportunity to experience that. Even in situations where, of course, you have a facade of democracy, especially you keep being told, we hold periodic elections. The quality does not matter. It does not matter whether the results reflect the will of the people, as you said, so long as somebody stays in State House. On that note, thanks to our distinguished guest, Emina Woods, an Associate Fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies, and Ni Akwete, Executive Director at the African Immigrant Caucus. Thanks to our affiliate stations, along with our viewers and listeners, we thank you for tuning in.